Bucs 26, Panthers 23. Bucs move to 6-6 with the overtime win against the Panthers, who fall to 3-9. Wild back and forth game. It looked like we had a Bryce Young game-winning signature touchdown drive against the Bucs, but the Bucs get back into field goal range at the very end of the game. They get a 51-yard field goal to push it to overtime. In overtime, Panthers have an opportunity. They're driving down. They're in field goal range. Fumble. Bucs drive down, kick the game-winning field goal to get the win, to move to 6-6.
Yeah, another game where we are saying Bryce Young played really well and yet did not necessarily get credited for it because they didn't end up getting the win. Like they should have. They could or should have beaten Kansas City and didn't get the win because Mahomes did what he does. Could have, should have beaten Tampa Bay. And Baker Mayfield, who'd played like crap, to be honest, for most of the game, did.
Until the game, like the game-tying and game-winning drives. That was pretty much it. Mike Evans' touchdown early was awesome by him and Evans. Outstanding catch by Evans. But Baker did not play well.
No, I forget who was on commentary in this game. But they were like, when the chips are down, that's when Baker plays his best football. I'm like, is it really? Is that a cliche that would be borne out if we looked at this statistically? I don't believe it is. But he did. And he had played badly for the majority of this game. Some ridiculous decisions with the football. And then when the game was on the line, like it looked like Carolina had done it. Bryce Young had executed his game-winning drive. He'd played well all game and got the signature drive to get his W. And no, Baker had just enough time left on the clock to get down, march the Bucs down a little bit, get the game tying field goal, and then was able to get it done in overtime when they got gifted the possession again.
All right. Well, I want to talk about Bryce in a minute here. Let's start with the Bucs, though. Baker, you're right. I mean, 3 turnover-worthy plays. The last one, now it came after he got injured. Remember, he got stepped on early in the game.
Came back and immediately throw the ball away.
It looks bad, but his very first pass coming back, interception. They were down 3 at the time, and it looked like, okay, this might not work here. So Baker, I mean, how many times has he, come close to being injured? Remember how Big Ben used to always get hurt and, looked bad, and then he'd come back. Mike Evans does this a lot, like injured, looks bad, you end up coming back. I mean, this one looked the worst of all the injuries we've seen. We've seen him rolled up on, we've seen back injuries, but Baker stepped on, and Kyle Trask comes in for a couple snaps, but Mayfield does come back. It was just his first pass was picked off. But even after the injury, he's still scrambling for first downs and making some plays. It was another, hate to say it, but gritty finish from Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, credit him because he had played pretty badly. Those are 3 bad decisions, and they were a variety of bad decisions as well. The first one was the classic you don't throw late to the flat play, right? Yeah. Where the guy was actually wide the hell open for most of that play. And by the time Baker ended up getting to him because of the pocket breaking down and him buying time, it just gave the DB enough time to break on it and pick it off. So that was bad. The second one, actually, I have some sympathy for Baker on. I think that one was actually a really good job of the defender basically baiting him. Like Baker thought that guy was going to follow the inside receiver, and instead he threatens like he's going to do it and then jumps back outside. Actually jumped back outside so conclusively that he actually overran the pass and couldn't, almost didn't pick it off entirely. Made it a really difficult catch for himself. But that actually, I think, was a really good defensive play. It's not great. Jordan Fuller made that play. It's not great by Baker, but it's the most excusable of the 3. And then the third one, when he came back, he throws this deep over to, was it Jalen McMillan? And there's a guy on the far side of the play who never leaves. Like you're throwing it right to him.
So this is what makes the Bucs, I think, a tough team. Mike Evans had some plays. I mean, he looked really good, getting into a groove coming off the injury. Evans looked really good. And Bucky Irving was absolutely outstanding. Yeah. They're starting to push the workload in Bucky Irving's favor. Remember, early in the season, a lot of it was like, we're going to line him up as an H-back and give him an end around or a jet sweep. And they're giving Bucky the workload, and the guy makes people miss. Slashing running style, 152 yards on 25 carries, including a 43-yarder in there. I mean, Bucky Irving, I think, helped pick up the slack in a game where the pass game, again, Evans made some huge plays. He finished with 118 yards on 8 catches. He's still going for that 1,000 yards. If he keeps doing this, Evans can do it. But Bucky Irving was the star here for the Bucs offense.
It looked like Bucky Irving was going to be like the thing that finally, because obviously, Tampa Bay versus Carolina, the Bucs are heavily favored. They're expected to win. It's a tight game. It's a struggle. And it looked like Bucky Irving was going to be the reason that they went away and actually seal the win. Then ultimately, like, Bryce Young's able to come back and make it take the lead. But yeah, Bucky Irving looked like he was going to be the difference between the two teams for a while. Again, looked spectacular, ran incredibly well. I agree that we can put him in the Rookie of the Year conversation as long as it's just an honorable mention at this point. Like, Bucky Irving's been really good. Brock Bowers has been all-time record-setting good. It's a different thing.
Man, good for Bucky.
But Bucky looks great. Incredible find for Tampa Bay deep in the draft, and looks like a steal for them. So he was fantastic. The other thing, but we're back to this Bryce Young thing. Like, Bryce Young played really well and had, again, some of his best plays are not coming up with, they're not getting rewarded.
He's outstanding, man. Bryce Young, I'm not saying he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now, but I believe we've hit the tipping point where Bryce Young has played himself into being the Panthers quarterback next year.
Yeah,
this
we're
is
no
4
longer
straight games. Bryce Young is the quarterback for the Panthers next year, and I believe they can and should pivot unless he collapses.
Yes.
Right? There's still more time.
Right.
They can and should pivot from let's get a first-round quarterback to who's the best weapon for him, who's the best pass rusher. That's where the Panthers should be.
We're no longer grading him on a curve, which I think is like it's a notable step, right? When he first came back, right, and we were talking about his first kind of starts back, Denver and New Orleans, it's like he played pretty well, but it was like relative to, well, that's a lot better than it was when he got benched, right? It wasn't well in abstract terms. Like, if that was Joe Burrow having that game, you wouldn't say anything. It was like, okay, that's a standard Joe Burrow game, or not even a particularly good Joe Burrow game. Now, I think he's just playing well, period. Like, regardless of context, he's just playing really good football right now. And that's massive for a guy that was, the former number 1 overall pick for a reason. You're seeing Alabama Bryce Young, and that it's huge for them. I think you're right. As long as this maintains, that's a definite thing. But, like, real small sample size competition. It's not, whatever. But right now, since he came back into the lineup, his PFF passing grade is in the same ballpark as Jaden Daniels and Patrick Mahomes, right? I mean, these are good, and Josh Allen for that matter.
4-week stretch.
Yeah,
right?
It was since he.
I'm not questioning. I'm saying, was that the last 4 games, 5 games?
Yeah, 4. Yeah. 5 including this week. So 5-game stretch, very small sample size. All those usual caveats, but like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, albeit an injured rib, Jaden Daniels, Geno Smith, like these are the quarterbacks in the same area of PFF passing grade as Bryce Young, and now we're starting to stack up defenses where that's an achievement, right? Yeah. Kansas City, albeit not as good as last year, but Todd Bowles and his blitz defense, like he's playing well. And in this game, right, one of his best passes, sideline play, not complete, the touchdown to Adam Thielen that they're like, no, he juggled it and then couldn't find an angle to prove that he actually didn't. Should have been a touchdown. Doesn't get it. Like, he's playing well, and some of his best passes are still incompletions.
He's ticking all the boxes in the how he's doing it. I cannot believe, I'm watching it right now again, the far hash deep comeback that he throws to David Moore. I cannot believe this throw.
It's an amazing throw.
He throws it. He starts throwing. I mean, David Moore still has like 2 or 3 steps in his vertical stem before he throws it, and he puts it pinpoint along the sideline. Far hash, 19 yards down the field, and it is right on him, and he drops it. It is unbelievable. And that might have been his best throw of the game. It's incomplete. And then the next play, he rolls out, hits a guy down the field for 38 yards. He's doing it all. He's doing it inside of structure, outside of structure. I know I'm saying this for 5 straight weeks here, but this matters because we were saying this before it showed up in the stat sheet. Yesterday, it shows up more in the stat sheet, and against Kansas City, more in the stat sheet. But he's doing everything that you want from a quarterback. It's not like, hey, they found this perfect scheme to kind of hide his deficiencies.
Everything's different.
Yes, everything's different. There's natural playmaking. There's inside structure, outside structure. Like he's not perfect, man. There's a couple deep balls that he threw out of bounds and everything yesterday that he was off on. But when you say he can make all the throws, there are no limitations to Bryce Young's game right now in this form the way he's playing. And I cannot believe how good this deep comeback was from the far half.
This is why the narrative around Bryce Young when he got benched was kind of annoying, because everyone was like, you see, you just can't play in the NFL at that size. You can't. He's got a noodle for an arm. He's tiny. It was obvious, right? Anyone that had him high in the draft as a prospect is an idiot. This was never going to play at this level. You're like, well, it can, and it is now, right? And okay, we just talked the last 5 weeks, he's up there graded with some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Because shrinking your sample sizes is always better. So what about the last 2 weeks, right? If it holds with the second run of PFF grades on this week, he will have 9 big-time throws in the last 2 weeks, which would
lead the league.
And
it was against Spags' defense.
Yes.
Again, anticipation, pinpoint downfield throws. He's doing it, man.
And those 9 big-time throws will be against just 1 turnover-worthy play. So the last couple of weeks, it's not that he's just looking better. He's being efficient. He's, getting rid of the ball. His anticipation is good. He's sort of winning the Mac Jones way, right? He's also 9 big-time throws in 2 weeks. Yeah. One of which was against the Spags defense and one of which was against Todd Bowles. That's insane.
Led a game-tying comeback against the Chiefs last week. Hung tough in a game where they're supposed to get blown out. Led what,
he's led 2.
Should have been the game-winning
2 essentially
touchdown drive.
game-winning or comeback-type drives and hasn't gotten rewarded for either of them.
So anyway, I really think, again, barring a collapse, he's now an NFL quarterback. He's an NFL quarterback that will have his highs and lows. He'll have his ups and downs, right? He's not going to be great every single week.
He's not going to do four and a half big-time throws per week.
Yeah, he has shown us that he could play at the NFL level.
Yes.
And that year 3 of Bryce Young is something you can win with if you're the Panthers. And now maybe you can build your offseason around Bryce Young as your quarterback rather than saying, hey, I wonder if Quinn Ewers or Shedeur or whoever else falls to us.
Well, fascinatingly, he's now showing the exact opposite of that ridiculous take of, this size, the noodle, it'll never play at this level. Anyone that thinks he should be drafted high is an idiot, right? Well, now you're like, okay, actually, he's not only is he capable of playing at this level, but apparently he's capable of playing at a very high level at this level. Now what do you do as a talent evaluator looking at tiny noodle-armed quarterbacks, right? Now I'm confused because what I thought a couple of months ago was completely non-viable, it turns out is actually capable of playing at a high level.
And we got to wrap it up, but credit Dave Canales and the whole coaching staff for getting him, because the confidence is there, right? Because you talked about in Bama, you thought his anticipation, and you've backed off on this claim a little bit, but his anticipation was as good as that. Like, I'm just bringing it back. You were right, but his anticipation was as good as
it's just that it didn't exist
it wasn't
up until the last few weeks.
Now it's back. Like his anticipation and everything, and that's confidence, and that's something schematic that is saying trust what you see and then go play. They got him mentally right to get these results.
It
over these
shows
last few
how
weeks.
powerful that stuff is.
Yeah.
I mean, Canales has changed the offense, right? That I think he's doing a really good job at understanding what Bryce Young is good and bad at, moving the offense towards him and helping him out schematically, right? So that's definitely something you shouldn't overlook. Getting Adam Thielen back is an important thing as well. Like, there are things that have changed, so it's not just Bryce Young, but a large portion of the difference between a completely non-viable, the worst quarterback in the NFL, and a guy who right now is playing, a top half quarterback. Let's just set that bar. The difference between the worst quarterback in football and a top half quarterback is simply confidence. Like, the dude has gone from I'm lost, I feel like ass, I want to just go home and cry at the end of every game, to now the guy, he just looks happy. Like, the number of shots you see where Bryce Young's just got a big smile on his face, he's loving life.
Happy Bryce.
The difference between these two guys is just confidence.
And don't get me wrong, we'll tear him down again soon. We'll do that. Because Tua, right? Tua does all these things, and now we're like, oh, can you win with Tua? Is he good enough? Right. Can he compete with Josh Allen and Mahomes and Lamar? Can he do like? We'll get there. But for right now, Bryce Young's a viable, good NFL quarterback playing outstanding football right now.
The last point I want to make is Remember when Alex Smith came back and one of the first things that happened to him was Aaron Donald jumped on his back like a backpack and sacked him, and everyone was like, "Oh." Every time Vita Vea was chasing down Bryce Young, you're like, yeah. Just hit the ground. Please don't let him get hold of you. Like, for the love of God, Vita Vea could pick him up and launch him like through the air one-handed. It's terrifying.
Bucs get the win. This was fun, though, to discuss.
Yeah. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.